Cool. Okay, so the task, or the things I want to cover this morning, again, as I go through this, take notes, think about the things that I'm doing, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. All right, so save your questions till the end. So the thing I want to focus on is get my pen up. Is something called REST. And how this applies to application design. So let's think about this from the perspective of the user interactions that we have at the moment. So the first interaction that we have is one where we want to see all. Well, let's do something slightly different. I just said do something slightly different. We're going to create a bookmark and then see it on the page. So this is the first interaction that I think most of you have been able to implement so far. And the way that we've done this is thinking about a bookmark, whether it's been intuitive or not. This is we're talking about this as our resource, the thing that we are interacting with or manipulating on the server side. We're trying to create a bookmark and store that in a database so you can retrieve it later. So this is our resource. And the way that we've done that so far is to have a web page that has a form where you type in some text and it executes a post request. And it executes a post request to /bookmarks. And this is a different route as opposed to the ability to get all bookmarks. So there's actually a second interaction here, which is just to be able to see all of them. I put the create first because at the moment we still need to create a bookmark before we see anything on the page. See all bookmarks, and the interaction for this one is making a GET request to /bookmarks. Okay. So these are our two interactions, and you can see here that there's, you might already be spotting this, so there's a correlation between the kind of action that we want, create bookmark, and the kind of verb that we're using and the URL. So for create a bookmark, we are using a post request to /bookmarks, and to see all, we're making a GET request to /bookmarks. The URL hasn't changed, but the verb has. And this is good because we're using the information of the HTTP verb to understand for the people who read our controllers what is happening. And so this is important because we want to continue this pattern using /bookmarks as the way to handle requests to update the state of bookmarks or manipulate this resource. So if we continue this with the next interaction that we're trying to do, which is let's do delete, because delete's easier than edit or update. Let's add in, I'm going to have to extend my lovely. There we go. If I want to extend this to another interaction, this is delete a bookmark. then I want to be able to still form it in a similar fashion. But then we have to think about, well, what's the verb that I want to use? HTTP has a few different verbs that we can use. And for this one, I want to be able to send a delete request. So I want to be able to send a delete still to slash bookmarks. But we have to provide a little bit more information about which bookmark to delete. And some of you might have already experienced this. How do you pass information from the browser to make sure we're deleting a specific bookmark? And here I want to provide it in the URL. I want to do something like, say, for example, I'm deleting a specific one of ID 43. And I'm going to use my URL in the format of slash bookmarks and then the ID. And the request is going to come through as a delete request. So on the server side, I want to be able to extract this information from my request, extract this information from my request, and then handle it appropriately, delete the resource, and then send back a response. And let's model the last one, which is edit or update. Let's call it an update. Update a bookmark. For this, we need, if we're doing it as a sort of web page, there's a couple of ways we could do this. But if we do it the simplest way, the first one I want to do is make I'm going to split this into two. It's going to be easier if I split this into two. So let's grab you, move you down, and let's do 4.0 because that clearly comes before 4, right? And I want to show a particular bookmark. On its own individual page. So if I can get information about a particular bookmark, I might be able to edit it or do things to it. If we imagine we're not manipulating it, we're just showing, then we can still make a GET request, but then we can pass it an ID. So we could do the same relationship here, but this time the request is back to a GET, but bookmarks, and then we pass the ID. Say, for example, 22. And this would get me information about a specific bookmark. Still using GET, as opposed to the GET up here, which is just get all of them at the index. I can pass a specific ID to my URL and have a controller action that's specifically to matching any GET request to slash bookmarks slash any ID. And then an update would look, as you might imagine, if we're following a pattern, using another HTTP verb. If we're not using get or post or delete, I want to be able to use a put verb. And then specifically which resource? Well, we're still using the bookmark, and I want to say update ID number 13 if I had that in my table. And then I'll send back a response as normal. So let's zoom out a little bit into my rainbow controller actions. Look at that. The pattern here is thinking about what resource you want to model. So this will clearly correlate with your database model or bookmark, and then forming your URLs accordingly. This is all a convention. All right, so REST is a convention, and a convention essentially is a contract. You agree to write your applications like this because other people expect it. Everything is pretty much a contract according to conventions in software engineering. How you write things, how you design things, how people expect things to be done. So this is taking advantage of the HTTP verb to help inform what action should be happening. So you'd imagine that if you have an application state of, say, for example, I don't know, 50 bookmarks for, if we think about number 3 here, if we had 50 bookmarks, IDs 1 to 50, and we make a request using delete to bookmark /43, we know that we'll end up with a state of 49 bookmarks because we've deleted one. And this is the idea that we're trying to think about the state of our application, the resource that we have, and how to manipulate it. Okay, let me. I was going to pause here for questions, but let's just. I want to be able to demonstrate this as well. So yeah, keep questions until the end. We've already had a look at doing probably the first two, just like maybe unconsciously using post and get or the same URL bookmarks. And because the way that we can match URLs is not just dependent on the URL by itself, but also the HTTP verb. And then we use that pattern for it. So there are two things here. One is using HTTP verbs, not just get and post, but using more verbs to be explicit in the kinds of actions that we're taking. And then thinking about how do we include IDs in the URLs. And we'll have a look. And the third thing is, if we're using forms to make our requests, HTML forms, because they are archaic, only can submit in GET or POST requests. How fun is that? So we run into a problem. If we're trying to set up our controller actions to respond to not just GET and POST requests, but delete and put and other controller actions, how do we make a request successfully to our application? So we imagine the problem is an HTML form only has as its output either GET or POST. And we want to be able to have not just GET and POST, but GET, POST, put, delete, and let's stay with those 4 for the moment. There's a few more that we could use. So how do we get from HTML form requests to what we want for our application to handle? We've got to find some way to map across. So we'll have a look at how we do that. How do we map from the form requests to the right place? If we want to change it to anything but get a post, we're going to find a way to use a post request and add some data to that request to change it. And that's a like high level thing that we're going to do. These things can map straight one-to-one, get and get, but we can always use a post request and add data to this request so it changes. Okay. All right, let's have a look together at doing this. If you only want me, I really want to know what the next question is, but I need to wait for tomorrow. Okay. I am currently in where I left off pretty much yesterday, demonstrating this. I have, where are you going? Here you are. I have a test. Clearly that's not working. Let's double check why. Let's kill everything because it might have been running for a while. Let's get you up and running. Let's get you up and running. Oh, okay. Why? Well, that's fun. Clearly my hard drive, external hard drive has decided to switch off. Oh yeah, it's no longer active. Look at that. Okay, hold on, please. I need to. Oh, there you are. You're back. Look at that. It's not very helpful of you, Mr. Hard Drive. In the right place? I hope so. Great. Okay. Okay, I guess you don't want to work. Are you also? Come on. All right. Okay, so my external hard drive decided to switch off, and then anyway, let's ignore that. It's a bit temperamental. Okay, so I have a test that you've just seen run, and it's just simply for the moment for creating a new bookmark and showing anything that currently exists. I've included a task that makes sure I just remove any data from my tables, so it always runs from a pristine state. And we're not going to worry about that for the moment. I'll share that later. I want to just focus on test driving these new user interactions according to the principle that we're following, which is trying to design our routes to be RESTful according to a principle of REST, which is using HTTP verbs to indicate what interactions are going to happen, and thinking about the URLs in terms of resources. What resource are we manipulating? Clearly, not all URLs are going to be like this, but this is whenever we're dealing with resource interactions, they should be informed like this. All right, regardless of whether web applications or APIs, we need to think about these kinds of RESTful routes when dealing with resources. Okay, so I want to go back to my test. And think about the next step, which is it really just, I don't know what I'm doing. Why is it disconnecting? Well, let's just hope it doesn't. If it keeps doing that, we'll be, I might need to stop and have a look at what's happening. Okay, so let's add a test here that says something like deletes a bookmark and then shows all bookmarks. In this case, it'll just be nothing. So let's do the part of the setup in the same way. I'm going to type in into the text box a string, submit it, and I'd expect to see I'd expect to be able to click on a button to delete it. So let's imagine the case here where I want to grab some ID that says something like, I don't know, bookmark delete. Let's imagine I've got a list of all of them, a list of 10. And so let's just say I'll loop through them and attach like some kind of arbitrary number to distinguish them. And the first one in the list is always 0. So let's just say we'll delete the first one. I've only got one, so it shouldn't really matter. But this will be a button that I want to click. This should delete it. And then I want to do something like I want to assert that this is not on the page. So I'll probably have to quickly look this up. I want to make sure so it doesn't contain this. How do I do that? Cypress not contain. I always forget these small things. Okay, I get a specific element and say it should not exist. All right, let's try that approach. So let's imagine that I'll have bookmark 0 as like should I've got it right here, should not exist. So I'll just find that element on the page and it shouldn't exist. Let's try that for now. Maybe we can also say before we delete it, we can make another assertion here that says, sure, let's do something like this. That'll give us a little more confidence that it's not no longer there. Yeah, I type some text into the text box. I click submit. It creates it. I should see it on the page. I delete it. I should not see it on the page. Let's see that fail. Lovely bracket. Another one somewhere. I didn't save that properly. Okay, so we tried to find the delete button, but never found it. So let's go ahead and add that in. So we start with the view file. I loop through all my bookmarks, and I want to be able to add a button here that makes a request. So for each of the bookmarks, I want to add some kind of, I guess, form, which goes to /bookmarks. It's going to be a post request at the moment, but I'm going to find some way to add data to this request to change it. I'll maybe move that in here. That will be what it currently is. And then I want to have an input field that's a submit. And I want to be able to have a delete name for it. And that's pretty much what I want for that. But I'm going to have to stop for a second. Well, let's see this fail. And then think about how I can add information to this into this post request. So let's have a look at what that looks like at the moment. So you can see there's a delete button here, and I need to actually target it. So let's add an ID here. You go away. Bookmark dash delete, I think I called it my test. You're not running. There you are. Cool. All right, it's found the element, but it's on the page. So let's have a look at. For some reason there are.
Why is there two delete buttons?
Two delete buttons. We'll have a look at that. There's likely some information in the database that we'll have to have a look at. It like adds a second one. What I want to do is focus on updating this. So where it fails at the moment is it clicks it, but should not exist. So the post request, let's go back to our diagram for a second and think about what we need to do. So we're sending a post request, and I want to be able to instead send a delete request. So there's an express package that allows us to do this. We just need to be able to install it. It's called method override. So let's go ahead and install it. npm install. I'm going to save it. And we're running into a classic problem where my external hard drive has decided to disconnect again. This is not very good. All right, fine. Okay.
Are we in the wrong demo?
Yes. Nice spot. Okay, so install. We've installed that package. We can see this in our sort of list of dependencies. And let's go back to the documentation to have a look at how we use it. So the first thing is we need to require it. So let's go back to our application and add it in here. Then what we need to do is sort of set it, and we're not going to worry about this header. We're just going to use a query like this. That's going to be the simplest way to do this. So we're going to add this to our application like that. And then we want to be able to update our form method. So rather than just slash bookmarks, it's going to be with a query string like this. Where are we in the view? There you are, here. So the action here is slash bookmarks, and then I just add method delete. So when this request comes over, before it gets handled by your controller action over here, before it gets here, your application itself turns that request. So it looks at the request, it looks at the query string and says, if there is a key here called underscore method, use its value and send it to the right place. And so it does the job of going from the post request and changing it to what we want, which is a put or a delete request. So we haven't written the actual controller action here. We'll have to add a way to handle those kinds of requests, but let's see that fail. So you can see here we've managed to successfully send a cannot delete request. So let's go ahead and update that. You can see, given the way I've written my test, I've made an assertion that it doesn't exist on the page, and you can see that it's actually passed that test, which is a false positive. So you just got to be careful about the way we write tests at the moment. It's fine because I don't want to worry too much about this. Cannot delete bookmarks. Let's go ahead and add this in. So go back to our controller action and let's write out a delete request. So here I want to write a request and response. And in here, I want to have a quick look at the documentation to do something like let's do something like await bookmark destroy where where ID is going to be, what's it going to be? Well, if I'm sending across, let's go back here. If I'm sending across via method delete, I need to indicate what is the ID. So the way that I've written my controller action here, deletes, I need to go delete and then slash bookmarks slash then the ID. So let's make sure we update that correctly and do something like bookmark.id. So this is the action, the URL that I want to send it to, according to our convention, where we're following the resource name and then the ID, and then we're attaching the query string to make sure when the request gets handled by our Express app, it changes from a post to a delete, and then sends to the right controller action. So if I do that, I want to be able to handle it. So if I say something like bookmark ID and specify that using this colon, it sort of matches anything in this URL to slash bookmarks, so it's already the bookmark controller action, then I can use this as like a variable as part of the request parameters. So let's have a quick look at how we do that. In root parameters in Express, we can define our URLs to be more dynamic, and we can include IDs in them. So in this example, if we had a URL that matched slash users and then colon user ID, books, colon book ID, I have access to these two IDs in the request parameters under specifically the same key. So in my case, if I'm defining it as bookmark ID, I can grab this from request.params and bookmark ID. So I'm trying to send a data across from my application on the left-hand side on the delete. I give it the HTTP verb delete. I modify that from my HTML form from a post to delete. I send in the URL, the resource name, and the ID. That's going to be over here, the URL and the ID, and then I give it the data to be able to override it. And then I specify in my controller that any bookmark slash and then whatever I give in the URL, I can access as or from the request params as the same name here. So these are important to be the same. Let's also log here so we can see this, this object, request.params. And then I want to be able to send back the entire list. So let's do another find all and send them back with the current list after I've destroyed them. Cool. All right, let's run this test and see. Okay, so delete / bookmarks 101. At the moment, still can't delete it. You can see the URLs formed at the top here. That I've got my resource, the ID, and then I'm sending across method delete. So far so good. And let's double check that the it's not popping up there, is it? I'm going to just, oh dear me. Hopefully it just, you don't want to just exist, do you? In happiness. This is becoming a bit tiring, folks. I'm sorry. I have a little patience for this. Why don't you just stay connected? You just, there's nothing else. There's so many tabs open. Why are you, if I kill you first, run, you just want to just crash, don't you? It is running, so it's running somewhere else. It's just, okay, it just crashed and then restarted. All right, let's just let you happen. Okay, so I am making a successful request, but at the moment I am not deleting it. So at the moment, let's have a look at why. So this is my controller action, and I should be matching a request to bookmark ID, but we're not hitting this route at the moment. So let's understand why we're not getting here. So if we take it from the top, I have method override, bookmarks. Is it just because I haven't saved it? I don't know. Let's double check. It's still method delete. All right, let's do some live debugging. I haven't sent a request here yet because it hasn't shown up. So my application can't see it. And it is delete bookmarks. Let's double check. What have I missed? What have I missed? I've overridden it. I just need to I have this all set up, but it's not responding to any requests at the moment. how can I see it? Let's see whether it sees this change. I'm in my controller. It does see it, okay. So it sees it, but it's just not responding to any requests. Okay, well, this is fun. Bookmark ID, it should be fine. I've written it according to what it says I should do. And what about making sure I have written everything that I need to? I formed it. There's going to be some typo somewhere, folks. Have I done everything as I meant to? Actions, bookmarks. Yes, it comes in across the ID. I can see the ID here. I've got underscore method delete. It looks like
Why is that ID creeping up?
Because the database is just keeping a track of all current IDs. You can reset it manually if you want to, but even if there's no data in the table, it will still keep a current count. It hasn't reset. Okay, so I send this across. I have my application that's required it. I do have it set up, so that should be all right. I see it here. Yeah, I see it there, the dependency. I've required it. I'm using it. Method override. Yes, yes, yes. Post having it. I've done it correctly. There's a delete button. Yeah, I don't care about that. Okay, and then I send any request to the bookmark controller and delete asynchronous function request response. Okay, well, it should be fine. Let me just double check delete. Is that how I do a delete? Give me an example. We want to do an example. It's just not liking it, folks. Why? Why? This is fun. Okay. Well, I just waste everyone's time as I try and figure out why everything indicates. If it's an external hard drive problem, I will just rage. We're getting visibility. This is not coming out in my log, so it's not happening. It's not happy with this. And it might be something to do with the fact that it hasn't been able to restart appropriately. But I see the controller, wherever it was. If I run it just using Node, it still has the same thing. All right, let's just quit everything. Just quit everything. Too many open things. It just doesn't. Okay, what? Why is that? Why doesn't it not like that? Like this. Why not? It feels like it's already in use, but that clearly is not the case. Is there any other application that's currently using it? How is that still running? How? What? Folks, this is bizarre. Where is it running? I need to kill the process. All right. This is let's double check what is going on. Oh, Jamie, Josh on Lantana. Oh my goodness. Whatever I was doing yesterday to have a look at this has destroyed my morning. Okay.
Destroyed my evening.
There's a leftover process that's running. That's causing conflict. Okay, that's fun. Can I do something like? Still doesn't like it though. Is it still running though? Oh, this is bizarre. I've got no open process, but why is it still? Okay, there's not just that one. What's the other one that I had? App.js. What other applications things are running? Let's kill you. Are you still running now? Okay, now you're dead. Okay, which is what it should be. Great. Okay. Okay, well, that was fun. A leftover node process that was still running the application when it closed all current connections, but something was still running. Gosh. Okay. MPX Cypress open. Nope, that's not how you say open. Okay, so we've got through the click, and now we're just not seeing it on the page, and it's likely because I didn't do it the right environment. So I've got two different. No, I don't want you to do that. So let's make sure we're using the same database. if I'm dropping it or truncating it, I don't want to use it in my development database. I want to make sure I'm always running it on my test database. I'm running this, also my test database, they have to match. Okay, you, so far so good. Where are we? Back to where we should be, which is a working controller action. Creates new, it's.
Does node end work? Because that's what you typed when you typed Cypress open.
Say again?
You typed node end instead of
Oh.
node envar.
Thank you, Jamie. I was going to say that clearly wasn't working. This is when you go too quickly, you make mistakes. This is probably familiar for a bunch of you, right? We're always making typos. Gosh. But there we are. I'm not perfect. Oh, look at this. It's ejected again. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. This is turning into be a lovely session, folks. I'm just going to breathe and not get too mad. It's never been this bad before. Okay. Just what? Just breathe. Okay, it might come back. I'm gonna have to fix this for next time because this is just not as much as I'm trying to smile about this. This is not good. Can you see me yet? Cool. Okay, well, this is where we were meant to get to. Apart from all this nonsense about having a leftover process running that was interrupting things, my external hard drive from just being very flaky at the moment. We have a working interaction with the delete, and we should see our params and our logs over here. You can see that I'm sending across the ID, and I can extract the ID from the request parameters. So if you create this in your controller action, you can see that happening in your server logs when you run your app. So it's useful to just like get some visibility over what data is coming over. You can log your params, and this is anything in the query string here. And the request body is by the form submission, is attached to the body of the request, not in the query string, which is why when you send it across as a form submission, you extract it from the request body. Okay, so just to recap, I'm going to try and tap very slowly on everything here to avoid any sort of minor vibrations that clearly make my hard drive die. Let's go back to this diagram. So to recap, we've done a delete request by using HTTP verb delete and the URL / bookmarks passing in the ID. We used a method override package to be able to translate or map the post request to a delete, so we can take advantage of this convention of creating our controller actions according to the HTTP verb and then the URL, organizing our URLs by a resource. And so this is something I want to keep I want you to keep in your mind. What are the resources that you're dealing with whenever you approach a project? What are the resources? And they usually correspond to your models. A bookmarks table is therefore dealing with the bookmark resource. And if you want to be able to create, read and update and destroy it, you want to create interactions or URLs and controller actions that are conventional. We're using the ID in the URL query string and extracting that in our application. using sort of dynamic URLs by using a colon to signify which part we can access. So the colon here allows us to extract it from the request params over in the request. We use the same key as the we mentioned here. So this is a delete. The update, given that we have to actually add in some text for the update, it's similar, but I want to include another page where my interaction is going to be something like updates a bookmark. I create, let's say, for example, olds. Start with old, and I want it to be old. If I edit it, let's say, for example, we have like an edit link. I want to make a link first to just get a new page. So I want to see a new text box so I can put in different information to update it. I'm going to have an edit which brings me to a new page. And then I want to type into it and submit again. So let's say, for example, it won't be this text box. Let's call it the edit text box, and then the sort of edit submit. Let's say updated. Then I should have should contain updated. Okay, does it, this is the kind of text I want to write, where I'm going to go to a new page first, update the information, and then hit submit, and I should go back to the original page of all the bookmarks with that updated. So I have a look at my test. I've got my edit link. That's not found because I haven't written it. So let's go add it in. So here, from my delete, maybe I'll add it in between here. Let's add a link. This is my edit link that I want to go to /bookmarks. And let's imagine that I have let's imagine I have a page that I want to get, and that just shows like the text box. I want to do something like this. All right, I want to make a GET request. So a link will default make a GET request, and I'm going to just show this individual page, and I'll be able to interact with it. So let's give it an ID so it can be targeted. And it says edit. So let's have a look at this test. Cool. So it's now saying I can't get specifically the ID, which is what I want. I've been able to target that edit link and then click it. And when I click it, it goes and says can't find it. So this is good. So let's go back to my controller action, and I'm going to add another GET request, but specifically to again the bookmark ID. So this is now showing an individual bookmark ID, and I guess actually really I want to show like an edit. So actually I'm going to go back and update my here. So I want to go to bookmarks /edit. Controller action. So I'm going to go get the edit page, and here I just want to edit the individual bookmark. So I might do something like find one and then get it by the ID. And then send back to not just the index, but I want to send it a new page called the edit page. So let's write a new page for this. This is the edit page. Edits, updates are always like more tricky because you have to write a new page for them and update it. I never like writing update edits. Anyway, so if we go back to my controller, I want to find the bookmark that I'm trying to edit and then send back a page where I can do some edits to it. So what do I want from it? Well, let's grab everything and then I'll whittle it down. I don't want this. I don't want any of that. I don't want this. Let's imagine. So for my update, I want to send it to by method put. This is what I want to do according to my diagram here. I'm now using a put request because I want to update it. I send it to /bookmarks then the ID. So bookmarks, the syntax highlighting. Let's close you down so we can get you back. There you are. Okay, so I send a method post by method puts bookmarks, the bookmark ID. Cool. I get the bookmark from my controller because I've injected it or embedding it using a find command to get it. My edit page is going to have not you or you, it's just going to have the edit button. I think I've called it update. And we need an input field. Type text, value, there's no value to begin with. I'm just updating the URL, so it has to be the same as that. And I need an ID field to target it so I can select it. What did I call it in my test? I called it something like that. Okay, almost there, folks. Edit text box, type URL. I'll post it to my put handler at bookmarks ID, and I can submit it using this button. So I should get a failure saying I can't post it. So let's have a look at where I am in my test. Cannot get. Why can't you get it? Get edit text box timed out retrying text box because I can't get that page. Let's go back to my controller, bookmark ID edit. Should be all right. Why aren't you all right? /bookmarks edit. /bookmarks edit. That should be fine. Please don't say something else is happening. Getting visibility by just doing a log statement here, so I can just check, have I hit this route? And having a look at, yeah, it's not seeing it, is it? Gosh, how frustrating is this? I'm just, why does it just not want to hang out here and just do what it's meant to do? Am I going to really have to check again what is happening? You just not, it doesn't look like it's happening. Are you really gonna? I'm gonna start shouting a second. That would be pretty to watch. Okay, index is not defined. Some copy paste error. Where are you? Bookmark. What did I call you? Edit, submit. Cool, that's what I expected to happen. I'm just, all right. And I see in here, I see that log statement now, good. Where was I? Put statement, controller action, and the last part of this is to write a put statement. I don't need you, I don't need to update, I need to do something update maybe. Let's go back to the docs, go to the sequelize, have a look at the update, passing in what you want to update, and then the sort of which records to update. So something like I want to update URL to be the request body.url, comma, where, and then ID is bookmark ID. Oh, I read it entirely the wrong one because I'm going clearly far too fast. Not you. Here, update. URL request body URL, and then where ID params is bookmarks. Double check. Yeah. Okay, that looks mostly fine. Update everything. Find the current bookmarks, send the bookmarks back to the index. So it should be fairly similar to my delete route. Destroy a certain one, update with a condition. I swear to God, if you've cool. Okay, updated. All right, let's actually have a look at it ourselves just to verify. I'm going to go have a look at www.bbc.co.uk. Save it. I can edit it. I'm going to say something like what's alternative to BBC? I don't know. CNN. That's the first thing that came to my head. It's updated it, and I can delete the old one. Cool. So we can see all of them. We can create a new. We can update and we can destroy. The basic actions of a CRUD application: create, read, update, and destroy in a test-driven way with lots of random hard drive crashes and things like that. Okay, so first of all, like a massive apologies for a lot of the wasting of time as I try to debug, but maybe that was also useful to see me, not sorry, panic, but just try to figure out quickly what's going on. I don't expect that ever to happen to you folks, to have to figure out what sort of like leftover processes are hanging out. If that does happen to you, please just let me know, and I'll troubleshoot it with you. Lots of fun things there. The main point of this morning was to go through to demonstrate this high-level view of thinking about how can we organize our URLs, our controller actions in a RESTful way, thinking about resources. What resource update or state do we need? How does it change? And what's the right H2 verb to use? Cool. Let's go with questions. Questions that came up, thoughts that you have as you watch that.
Okay, so with the delete request, for example,
yeah,
and you are sending that request to a new URL and passing in the ID through the actual request itself. So it changes the URL. When we were doing it, we sort of created a hidden input that passed the same thing. Should we use it where we always actually change the URL instead?
Yeah. For the ID, it's quite conventional to see IDs in URLs. So you don't need to. You can if you want to, but then you lose a little bit of information in order to write your URL, your controller actions. You'll have to find a way to distinguish. Say, for example, here I've got two kinds of GET requests. So I've never added, /edit here. But if you didn't have the edit, you'd have to find a different naming convention to say, I want a specific bookmark as opposed to all bookmarks. And so the way to differentiate between like an individual show route and like all of them. So if I wanted to be able to, let's say, for example, write a route that handles just showing a particular a bookmark, I would want to write it like this. Still a GET request, still just /bookmarks, but the only difference is this one is with an ID. And this will show me one specific resource. Whereas if you didn't have this naming, you weren't following this convention, you'd have to do something slightly different. You have to do something like, I don't know, show, and actually include that in your URL rather than the ID. And then pass it across. But the convention is to have IDs in your URLs. A little bit similar to sort of this. Where are you? Similar to this pattern here. Yeah, it's possible without. You always have to change your names, but the convention is to have IDs in your URLs. Good question. Other thoughts and questions?
Yeah, I noticed a lot of repeating, like router get, the last two lines where it's find all and bookmarks. Is there a way of just like calling router get so you don't have to keep typing it out?
Yes, you can try to redirect the request, and that can work. But the way that Node.js does redirect is it gives you like a manual redirect rather than automatic redirect. So keep doing it this way for now, and then we'll find a better way to do it. So one of the things that I want you to have in your mind as you think about questions or thoughts is the objective is thinking about RESTful routes and how they apply to application design. Like what still is confusing in your mind that I can help explain using this example and right now. There's actually a fun tool. What's it called? This is like a fun little tool to think about resources and states if you want to play around with this. It takes like 5 minutes of time and then you'll be done with it. The idea behind this is to get you to think about, okay, what kinds of resources, what actions are happening. So if you take for this example, if your application has 45 comments in your comment database, comment table, and you make a request to post comments, what kind of interaction is happening here in terms of create, read, update, and destroy? What do you think, Lewis?
Say that again, sorry.
If we're making a post request to /comments and we're thinking about RESTful architecture, if we have 45 comments, we make a post request, what do you think is happening here? Is it a create, read, update, or destroy?
Update.
And what gives you information about the update?
Because it's updating us a sort of it's updating something that's already there. So the comments will be added to oh, actually, would each comment be on its own separate line in the database?
Exactly.
Right, okay, therefore create.
Cool, exactly. So the resource here will be a comment, and the next application state, if we have 45, do we go to 46, or do we go to 47, or do we say 45? We add one, right? So it's a create, so we're going to go to 46 comments. Yeah. We create a new record in our table. Let's have another look. If we have 52 posts and we have a put request to post /post and then an ID, Paulina, what's the resource at the moment that we're dealing with?
A post.
Yep. And do we have 51, 52, or 53 posts after this request?
52.
Cool. Nothing changes apart from updating one of these. So and there's an update that happens, but we still stay at 52. Yeah. So have a quick play with this. This is like just it takes 5 minutes to drill a few things. There's another version on the top right. It's sort of almost the inverse, which is fun to think about. If you had 80 bookmarks and you want to be able to create a new bookmark with the URL of google.com, and the application has 81 bookmarks, that's what we need to get to. So we're going to increase. What kind of request do we need to make? If it's a create request, what kind of request, Matt? Post, get, put, or delete?
I think, I'm confused. I think it's just a post.
Yeah, exactly. So if we think here, creating a bookmark, we're making a post request.
Yeah.
When we see bookmarks, it's usually going to be a get request. When we delete a bookmark, it's going to be delete request. When it's update, it's going to be put. So in this case, we want to create a new bookmark. So we're going to use a post request to slash. In this case, what's the resource?
Just 81.
That'll be the ID, but that's the current state, sorry. But what resource are we dealing with?
Bookmark.
Yeah, exactly.
URL.
Exactly. So it's going to be slash bookmarks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do another one. If we want to just take a look at all the users, is this a create, read, update, or destroy, Petra?
Read.
Nice. So the HTTP verb is going to be?
Get.
Nice. And what resource are we dealing with?
Users.
Cool. So it's going to be slash users. Let's do one more. We want to delete the post with an ID of 6. So is this create, read, update, or destroy? It's going to be Hannah.
Destroy.
Yeah,
Delete.
exactly. So the HTTP verb is delete. And what's the path going to be? What's the resource we're dealing with?
Posts.
Cool. Slash post. And what's the ID that we need to delete?
6.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of path and verb that we would need to create in our application to send it to the right place according to REST. So have a play with this to drill a few, just so you can sort of consolidate it in your mind about what kinds of routes do we need to build and how do we handle them. That should be sent here, so it should be fun.
Can I ask a question regarding? I understood all the other ones, but the first one, why did we, when we created, why do we end up with an extra item or whatever it was?
This one here, so for example, the application has 24 tags. When we make a post request, we should end up with 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we make a post request, we're creating a new tag. That's the idea behind it.
Oh, I'm with you now. Yeah. Okay.
So if we start with 24 rows on our table, we make a post request. The idea is you're going to be doing some kind of create action here.
Yeah.
and to create a tag. So the tag.
So the old tag has like the old data on it, kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
What do you mean?
So I'm trying to get my head around it.
Yeah.
We start off with so many. If you go back to the screen that you were just on with the question, so let's say the application starts off with no tags, and then you're adding 24. That 25th tag, where's the extra tag coming from? I'm still not quite getting it.
Think of it slightly differently. In your table, the current application state has 24 tags. So it means in your tags table, you have 24 rows. So that's the current state of your application. We've already added a bunch of tags. We want to create a new tag. So we're going to make a request to post /tags.
Oh, okay. I thought you were adding, like you were making 24 new ones rather than just adding. Right, that makes more sense with you.
So post root, when we're thinking about RESTful architecture, we'll always be creating a resource rather than many. It's a good question. Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Can I ask about the did you call it dynamic URLs when you were using the semicolons to get the ID? Would we just be using that for the IDs in the table, or could we use that for any of the other, I guess, columns that would be related to that row?
Yeah, you could, but I guess there are two things to that. One is the convention is pretty much to only use IDs as dynamic as part of your dynamic URLs, just to identify different resources. And the second thing is, what kind of information do you want to send in that request? What kinds of things are you thinking about?
So say if we weren't dealing with bookmarks anymore, if we were dealing with like maybe, I know, like, you know, in the to-do list, we had text.
Yeah.
So would we just get that text with the ID?
Yeah, so you would have like another controller handling to-dos, and if you needed to create a to-do, you would have a control action that says post, and then you would still use a form to submit the data in the body, and you would do request body.text, for example. So you would submit that information through the form post body. And if you needed to find it, you would do the same thing. You would change this to something like to do ID like this, if it was in your to do controller.
Okay.
Cool. Any other thoughts and questions? Cool. Okay, let's wrap it there so you have some time to play around with this. I'm going to upload this to YouTube, what else was I going to say? I'm going to also send this to GitHub so you can have a look at the code as well, so you can explore it. So you'll have access both to the code and the recording, so like follow along and understand if you want to. Is there any other questions that I can talk about right now? Or are we good to go? Few thumbs up, cool, awesome. All right, folks, thanks for bearing with me for some of those fun times, and I will see you at 2:20.